Hello YouTube and fellow DC Comic fans, I'm Keith One Shot, and this is my Comic Complete Dramatic Reading Series, and today we will be covering The Flash Rebirth, Running Scared Part 1, Every Breath You Take, from DC Comics. All art, text, characters, and storylines belong to DC Comics and their respective owners, not me. If you enjoy this story, feel free to go out and support DC Comics in your local comic book shops. We start the story off in the 25th century, where we hear a voice narrating to us. The voice says, "Who is the Flash? For centuries people saw the Flash as a hero. He was their savior. They idolized him. It was deeper than worship. They felt as if he was one of them. They thought he understood them. It's funny, isn't it? How you can watch someone from afar and think you know them. But the truth is, only we really know the man behind the mask." We are then with Barry Allen, the Flash, as he's running as fast as he possibly can on the cosmic treadmill, as Barry is on a mission to save the woman he loves. As the Flash is running, he narrates, "My name is Barry Allen, in the Flash. Most days, I call myself the fastest man alive, but in the future, there's a lunatic named Eobard Thawne. He calls himself the Reverse Flash, and he's faster than me. So fast that he's outrun death multiple times. Thawne came back in time, kidnapped my girlfriend Iris West, and attacked her nephew Wally, the new Kid Flash, and I wasn't there to protect them. I was so worried about Iris learning about my secret identity that I pushed her and Wally right into harm's way. Thawne left a message to return to where we first met." We then see Barry Allen's memory of the first time he went to the 25th century. Barry looks very happy and excited to be there, and the current Barry goes on to narrate, "The 25th century, years ago, I stepped off the cosmic treadmill into Central City of the future for the first time. As a kid, I was obsessed with science, but also loved science fiction. It was something that my mom and I shared. She'd read me stories of impossible worlds and futures far away. She would have loved this." We then see in Barry's memory a young Flash, wide-eyed and beyond excited, as he says, "Amazing!" Then someone says to Barry, Flash, it's you, isn't it? You're Barry Allen, the real Flash." It turns out to be a man in a Flash suit, and Barry says to him, "Hey, how do you..." Then the man in the Flash suit says to Barry, Sorry, this is just so surreal. I can't believe you're really here. My name is Eobard Thawne. I'm a huge fan of yours, an expert in your history, in fact." The young Eobard Thawne then goes on to tell Barry, "I even harnessed residual traces of Speed Force from one of your old suits to give myself powers just like yours." Then Barry takes off his mask and says to the young Eobard Thawne, "Wow, a future Flash. Never thought I'd see that. Well, friend, would you like me to show you some tricks of the trade?" Then Eobard replies to Barry by saying, That would be an honor, Flash." Then we see the two Flashes running side by side, and Barry says to Eobard, "First, call me Barry." Then Eobard asks Barry if he can tell him some Flash facts. We then hear the current Flash narrate, "Eobard was more than a fan. He wanted to be the Flash of the 25th century, but he was no hero. I discovered that Eobard had been endangering lives to make himself look like one. People got hurt." We then see in current Barry's memory, Flash and Eobard Flash fighting. Then Barry beats the young Eobard Thawne. Then we see the young Thawne spending time in prison after being beaten by the Flash. Current Flash then goes on to narrate, "Eobard is often a reminder that sometimes I trust too quickly. Thawne said he would change, that he'd become a better man, but the next time I saw Thawne, he was worse." We then see Barry's memories of all the many times Thawne has returned, and the two have fought, epic battles they have had over the years. Then current Barry goes on to narrate, "He did everything he could to make me suffer. Thawne went back in time, and he murdered my mother when I was just a child. I hate to think about her final moments. I tried to go back and stop Thawne, but in doing so, I created a nightmare alternative timeline called the Flashpoint. After the Flashpoint, Thawne returned again, and again, and again. His hate for me runs deep." We then see the current Barry Allen has ran to the future, all the way to the 25th century, and things seem a bit different from the memory we just saw of the first time Barry came to the 25th century. Barry then goes on to narrate, "I wish I could return to the 25th century under better circumstances, but this trip isn't a sightseeing tour. I need to find Iris and bring her back home. If he's hurt her in any way..." Wait, something is wrong. This isn't the future I remember. Then we hear a man shout, "It's the Flash! Run!" We then see all the nearby people flee for safety away from the Flash. Then, a police officer points his gun at Barry and says to him, "If I see any signs of the Speed Force, I will open fire on you, speedster punk." Barry is extremely confused by this, and Barry replies to the officer by saying, Okay, you have nothing to fear, officer. I'm not here to fight. I need to find somebody named..." Then the officer says over his comm mic, "Report! I need backup at the Flash Museum. Stat!" Then Barry says to himself confused, "Museum? What?" Then, behind the officer, Barry sees the Flash Museum that was built in his honor. Barry runs past the officer with a quick whoosh and into the Flash Museum, where Barry goes on to narrate, "Holograms of my enemies, of my friends, my life on display like ancient relics. I never did this to be celebrated. There's even a hologram of Iris." We then see that Iris West from our time is in the hologram of herself, and she yells out, "Flash, look out!" Then Flash, confused by all of this, says, "Iris!" We then see Flash get cracked in his face by a punch on his left, then cracked by a punch on his right, then struck in the gut, knocking the Flash to the ground. Then we hear a voice say, "Hello." The voice then turns out to be Eobard Thawne. Out of his reverse Flash suit, Thawne says to Barry, "Welcome to my home, Flash. I had originally thought of setting up a classroom here for the whole teacher theme, but felt like maybe we should move past that stage of our relationship." Barry is bloody and beaten down to the ground and filled with anger as he says, "Thawne, when is this going to stop? Why bring Iris here?" Then Thawne replies to Barry by saying, "Because wherever Iris West goes, the heroic Flash follows, and I wanted you to see my masterpiece." Barry then goes to attack Eobard with a punch and says, "You built this, Thawne?" But Eobard dodges without effort and says to Barry, "It's not my creation, so to speak, but it is my passion. Please, Flash, you know I'm faster than you. Don't embarrass yourself." After I had my run-in with Death, I came home and found that I was no longer the expert on all things Flash, so I went back to see what else had been changed, starting with your new sidekick, Kid Flash. Eobard then walks up to the Iris West hologram, where Iris is inside of right now. Then Eobard says to Barry, "And his dear Aunt Iris, where I found that Iris was just like me. Her history had been altered, but she doesn't remember anymore." Then Iris says, "Flash!" Then we see Barry run up to attack Thawne, but again, Eobard is too fast, as he easily dodges Barry, and he hits him from behind. Then Thawne says, "But it's time I started with my truth." We then see Eobard Thawne as a child, as the current Thawne narrates his story. "This might be your future, but there was my present, a prison, where I felt like a man out of time. I was an only child. My parents were taken away from me by a tragic accident, leaving me alone. No friends, no family, no love, but I had the Flash. I watched every vid, studied every single story. In my darkest moments, I was thankful to have you running in my head. Then there was a miracle, a time capsule from the 21st century. The costume wasn't a replica, it had been yours, and now it was mine." We then see in Thawne's memory a younger Eobard putting on Barry's old suit that he found in the time capsule. This young Eobard couldn't be happier to be wearing the suit of his idol, and then the current Thawne goes on to narrate. "Dressing like the Flash wasn't enough. I wanted to see how you lived, to be a hero just like you. But here in the future, there wasn't many opportunities, so I created my own, and became the fastest man alive in the 25th century. Then you arrived, for the Flash to come to my time. Right then, it had to be more than coincidence. It was destiny. You were everything I thought you were and more. I always thought I understood the Speed Force, but you taught me that understanding and experiencing were very different." Then in Thawne's memories, we are shown a moment when a young Eobard and Barry had a conversation together. The young Eobard says to Barry, "I just wish we had more time. It's the one thing we never have enough of. People here, they take it for granted. I'm sorry, I must sound like a crazy person to you." Then the young Barry says, No, not at all, Eobard. I understand exactly. Every second is a gift." Then the young Eobard smiles and says, "That's it, exactly." The current Thawne then narrates, "It was the happiest day of my life, but you didn't approve of my methods. Despite my efforts to honor your legacy, you believed I had gone rogue. So I made a promise to you. I worked with a therapist. I made an effort to better myself. I shared my knowledge. I dedicated my life to helping others. I convinced the authorities that I could be better utilized as an educator, a teacher, a professor. At first, I was just a tour guide for the Flash Museum. And eventually, my hard work was rewarded with my position as curator of the museum, but I felt like something was missing, that even though I had fulfilled my promise, it wasn't enough. Then I knew what I needed to do next. I needed you to see how far I'd come for any of it to truly matter, so I took a trip back to the 21st century. It was arrogant of me to think I was ready to be the Flash, so I changed my costume. I chose yellow because it was the color all the Flash's partners wore, to be in the past, in the same time period where you had all your greatest adventures, was an experience that I had only dreamed of." Then the young Eobard in his memory says, This is heaven." Then, in Thawne's memory, we see Heatwave and Captain Cold battling with the Flash, and Captain Cold says, "I'll cool the Flash off, Heatwave." Then Heatwave fires his gun and says, "I'll turn him into cinder, Captain Cold." But Flash makes light work of the two rogues. Then the current Thawne narrates, "At first I was nervous, but watching you, I knew you'd accept me again, because that's who the Flash is. You are more than just a hero, you're a friend." Then we see in Thawne's memory, Flash teaching the original Kid Flash a few moves. Then we see Barry and Wally West at Wally's graduation, and Barry tells Wally, "This watch belonged to my father. Wally, I want you to have it. The inscription on the back, it's special. It says, 'Every second's a gift.'" The young Eobard Thawne is confused by this moment that he came back to, the moment he just saw Barry share with Wally West. The current Thawne then narrates, The moment I thought we shared wasn't special. It wasn't real. None of it was. The Flash was not who I thought he was. The Flash is a liar. Then in the memory, we see the young Eobard Thawne, angry as he runs away back to the 25th century in front of the Flash Museum as he falls to his knees and grabs his head, then looks up to the statue of the Flash and the Reverse Flash, running side by side. Then the current Thawne narrates. You helped me see who I truly am and what I had to do. It was going to be my life's mission to make sure that you lived in pain like I do, but you don't remember any of that, do you? Then we see the current Thawne crack Barry in the face. Barry falls to the ground, then says, all of this, all the deaths, the years of torment, for that, I was treating you like... Then Thawne cuts off Barry by saying, everyone else in your life, I have to give you credit for that. You did treat me just the same. You hurt me like you hurt everyone, Flash, and I'm going to keep taking people from you until you learn to make time for people who matter in your life. Maybe then you'll finally see who your real friends are. Barry then stands up and says, what do you want, Thawne? Then Thawne replies to Barry by saying, for you to finally take your own advice. Every second is a gift. As Reverse Flash decimates the Flash and now stands above Barry, who is on the ground. Barry then, bloody and filled with rage, says to Thawne, I won't let you kill Iris. Then Thawne begins to violently kick the Flash around, then smashes the Flash in the face with a fist. Then Thawne says to Flash, kill her? Ha 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 ha! Iris's death wouldn't be justice. A real punishment would be if everyone in your life knew you, like I know you. I mean really, Flash, what kind of man lies to the woman he loves? Then Iris shouts, what? What are you? Then Thawne chokes Barry by the neck, and with his other hand, holds the top of Barry's head, as Thawne says, Iris Ann West, it is my honor, no, my pleasure, to introduce you to Barry Allen. Then Thawne removes the Flash's cowl to reveal to Iris that the Flash is the man that she loves, the man who has been keeping a huge secret from her. The Flash is Barry Allen, and now Iris West knows, and this ends this issue of The Flash Rebirth, Running Scared, Part 1, Every Breath You Take. Comic published by DC Comics. All rights, story art, and characters are owned by DC Comics and their respective owners. Not me. This has been Flash Rebirth, Running Scared, Part 1, Every Breath You Take. And I'm your host, Keith One Shot. If you like this video, make sure to support DC Comics, pick up a copy of the trades and single issue comics, support your local comic book shop, take care, and have a great day. Goodbye.